All right, we're going to start chapter 3, 3.1, lines and angles. Um, and we have some vocabulary. First sections in the book like to start with vocabulary. So I would like to start with parallel lines here, but um, it's going to make more sense, the definition of parallel lines, if we talk about skew lines first. Skew lines are lines that don't intersect. Now, if you um, a lot of people might be saying, hey, wait a second, that sounds a lot like parallel lines. But there's another condition here. Skew lines are not coplanar. Okay, which means if you look in this diagram here, this line here going through, then it goes through the plane down here, goes through, and then comes back out over here. That's never going to intersect this line right here. Okay, they miss each other, they go past each other. So you need basically 3D to make this happen. Um, Now, when we start talking about um, parallel lines are lines that are coplanar. So two lines that are coplanar and do not intersect. And if you think about that, um, they're going to always be the same distance apart. Okay, that's another side note, not technically the definition, but it's a fact. Um, so this has to be, in order for this to happen, we need to stay in 2 dimensions. Okay, we don't want to leave the plane. So parallel planes now, parallel planes are basically planes that don't intersect. Okay, so here's a picture of 2 parallel planes. They're not intersecting. The red and green line are skewed, and the black and green line are parallel. They're in the same plane. They're always the same distance apart. All right, so here's an example. Name a line parallel to line AC. So we find AC, line AC, we could denote like that. It's this line right here, back of the page. A line parallel to it, we actually have 3 choices. You can pick either this line BD, FH, or EG. So I'm going to write it in the proper notation. This is a line parallel. Now a line skewed. So skewed I'll do in red. Remember, I don't want it to intersect, and it can't be any of these 3 parallel lines. So line EF would be a skewed line. Line GH. Also, these lines over here would not intersect this one. They're not parallel, and they do not intersect. So you get to pick your choice. Line EF is skewed. So lines AC, our lines AC and line FH skewed. Gotta find them. AC, that's this one. FH, this one. Those lines would not be skewed. Okay, those lines are parallel. The parallel postulate. We have a couple postulates here, and here's what the parallel postulate says. If there's a line and a point not on the line, then there's exactly one line through the point parallel to the given line. We won't use this too much, but just more for constructions and things, and you might see it in your homework. Not necessarily important to write these postulates down, but just to understand them. So a parallel postulate, if I have a point off this line, how many lines can I draw through it? maybe a picture, one line through it. One line through that point that's going to be parallel. As we start talking about parallel lines, one way we can show lines are parallel is to draw these arrows in the middle of the line. It shows this line is parallel to that line. Perpendicular postulate is the same thing except for a perpendicular line. If there's a line and a point not on the line, then there's exactly one line through that point. Through this point, there's only one line that is going to be perpendicular. Okay, and that's how we can represent that. All right, here is probably the most important part. We're going to have some definitions. It's important that you get these written down. And it's important, basically, I'm only telling you to write them down so that it helps you memorize them. You need these things memorized. When you come to class tomorrow, I want you being able to talk these words in your sentences. Okay, so the first vocabulary word is transversal. Okay, what a transversal is basically it's any line that intersects two or more coplanar lines at different points. So it's a line. Transversal is, maybe you want to squeeze that in there. It's a line that intersects two or more coplanar. Remember, coplanar means in the same plane in two or more different places. Now, these next four are what we call angle relations, and there's going to be very important in I think 3.3, it might be 3.2, but I'm pretty sure it's 3.3. We're going to use these names in theorems, and if you just memorize these names, it's easy to know the theorems. Okay, so the theorems will all pretty much be the same, except for the angles we're talking about are going to be different. Okay, so corresponding angles. If you think about what corresponding means, it means it's basically the same position. Okay, keep that in mind, angles that are in the same position. So if I want to talk about what corresponding angles are, angle 1 and angle 5 are corresponding. Now that's not the only pair, there's going to be a bunch of pairs. You can talk about like angle 4 has a corresponding angle with angle 8. Okay, 2 and 6, 3 and 7. Okay, those are your other ones. Alternate exterior angles. If you think about alternate means opposite side of the transversal. Transversal is the line that's going across these two lines. So the opposite side of the transversal. So we're alternating the transversal, and we're on the exterior. Exterior is the outside. So we're on the outside of these lines, and we're alternating. That leaves us with angle 1 and angle 8, and also angle 2 and angle 7. Those are my alternate exterior. Alternate interior, once again, alternate the transversal. Interior means inside. Once you get those vocabulary, what does alternate mean, what does interior, exterior, corresponding, if you understand this part, you can piece these things together and it's easy. So alternate interior angles, so we're on the inside and we're alternating. That give us angle 3 and angle 6, and angle 4 and angle 5. And lastly, consecutive interior angles. So consecutive is in a row. Okay, so if you had consecutive hits in a baseball game, they were back to back. And in this case, our consecutive angles here are right in a row. We're not alternating at all. So angle 3 and angle 5 are consecutive, as well as angle 4 and angle 6. So make sure you understand these. Make sure you're checking, understand this part. That's going to help you. You can definitely study for these things on your with flashcards. So there's going to be the homework for tomorrow. Have a good night.